Mm, mm, mm. Mute. So as long as they're sharing the screen, I see. There's no video. That's weird. I don't know. But there's no.
HDMI 1. I'll set the course myself. You will set the course. Before I start on the cruise, I have everything charted on paper. I don't agree anything on that. Look, Mason, it's perfectly legitimate.
Oh, LG content store.
What's so legitimate about it? But there's only one reason you want me on board this boat. That's because I know where we're going. And when you know, what do you need me for? Without the course, I do not go. Just lost your captain. He's a good man. He'd be hard to replace. Oh, I don't think so. Naturally. Don't worry about your boat. We're going in the Rotary Rock and reef. Not me. Mr. Benedict, do you stand for this? I'm afraid I must. Goodbye, Captain. Hello, Captain. Manuel, I shall report this to the Harbor Authority. Bon voyage. Bon voyage. Thank you. That was well navigated. Thank you. You're now captain of the Mara Maru, but I'd like you to remember, I'm its owner. I won't forget. Thanks. Yeah, Manuel, warm up the motors.
You bet, boss.
Very nice work, Skipper. Yeah.
What are you listening to?
maybe in a few days a little rain for us?
Hey, boss. What? Don't you do an answer. You are thinking.
What do you think? Thinking about milk bottles.
Milk bottle. There.
On the doorstep.
Doorstep. Name Stella.
Wait. I'll get the second.
Sure. Good night, boss.
Much like an airplane. Going in the wrong direction, I think.
Bell's right. I'll take them all.
By the chance of fine.
Right early. Your evening's my radio. I have got to love the lane.
Good, good, thanks.
All right, so you convinced me. Now I'm paying you.
You're on the count of me.
No, I can't.
Good. Then they come to shop.
And I'm taking it.
What did the big girl? Search the big fight. Right on the count.
There's nothing to do with that. This is business. Why should I take my chances? When the split's made, I'll be here too.
That's what you feel better. Why?
Because it's the truth.
Tell him. Right. You're not a very good liar. You're not the kind that changes overnight. Now tell me the truth. What are you here for?
All right. I tried to take that. Stood there with the ticket in my hand. Plane took off. I was still standing there.
Tell me what happened.
You don't think I want your arms around me, you're crazy. But I can't go now until I know. Until I find out about you. That's why I need to find out.
All right. Let me try to help. You're about for all. It wasn't an accident.
What do you mean?
There's no visa by the name of Ortega. He collects little keepsakes like gun crosses. This was found in Burroughs' hand when he was dead.
Belongs to Ortega.
Not mine, son. That belongs to a murderer.
It's tougher and tougher. Who wants what and what do we do together? Ortega, Benedict, yeah.
It's all right. Nothing crooked about Benedict. He just wants
too fast.
So we need Todd Walter, Ryan Moore, and Carrie Nelson.
There you go. Whew. That's kind of bad timing to have to follow that. Fellow Rotarians, on behalf of the Las Vegas Rotary Club, and for the very first induction of this centennial year, it is my privilege to induct our second corporate membership. And corporate member, that would be Todd Walter of the Boy Scouts of America and alternate representative Carrie Nelson, sponsored by past president and assistant district governor and all things Rotary, Michael Gordon. Another alternate representative, Ryan Moon, is unable to be with us today, but he will come and he will also be inducted. So Michael, if you would start out by giving an introduction, please, to the club.
Thank you. So Todd Walter, if you don't know who Todd is, he's on your far right. Todd has never held a job in his life, right? He's only been a scout since he started working. So I'm joking. So Todd has been a scout executive at Baltimore, then he moved to Jacksonville, Florida, eventually to Cincinnati, Ohio, and then to North Carolina. It says on here that he's married and have 2 kids, and he's a big avid outdoorsman who likes pheasant hunting. So Russ Wayne, I think you have a new buddy. And then Carrie Nelson joined Scouts 5 months ago as the Director of Marketing and Development. Previously, she served as an account executive for several book publishing companies. And through these roles, she worked hard to bridge the technology and education divide. She achieves this mission by serving on the board of Power Up Academy, as well as the president of the, CCSD Lead STEM Academy Advisory Board. Both of them are previous Rotarians, so we're welcome or happy to have them welcome back into the Rotary family.
Thank you, Michael. Todd, would you like to say something, followed by Carrie?
Well, that definitely was difficult because Michael was actually one of the first people that I met when I arrived here in town. And I arrived here April 1st of 2020, and I had actually interviewed in February, got the job, went home, started packing up, and in between there, COVID hit. So my life and our lives completely changed from the job that I interviewed for to the job that I walked into. But right off the bat, I met Michael, and we kind of hit it off on a couple levels. First, he asked me to teach one of his classes, nonprofit finances. And so I got to teach one of his graduate level classes right out the gate. And then I found out he was from South Africa and he was also a rugby player, and he left that out of the resume. And I played for 14 years. So we had something in common right away, and we talked just about every day. It's been a blessing to me, and I thank you, Russ, all of our board members. Tom Krobsit here. Katie's mom was a big part of my arrival here and made a significant gift to us within the first 30 days when I thought the sky was falling. So I'm just grateful, and I look forward to rejoining Rotary. And I'm so excited. I was in for 10 years. I wore my sponsor pin because my best friend just finished his presidency in the Orange Park Rotary Club in Jacksonville, Florida.
Thank you, Todd. And Carrie? Oh, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you. We also met through rugby. I never played rugby, but we did meet through the Rugby Foundation. So that was our first introduction, Michael and I. I moved here in 1997. I was a very dedicated Rotarian in Prior Lake, Minnesota before I moved here. And I'm really excited to be back in part. So thank you. And my sister was one of the youngest Rotarians to be an exchange student in Japan.
Wow. Thank you. Well, now for the good stuff, the formal induction. Todd and Carrie, having been Rotarians in other clubs in your roles with the Boy Scouts, whose mission statement is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law, you recognize that in becoming a member in our club, you are beginning a great adventure in leadership, in friendship, and in service to your community. You expressed your desire to rejoin Rotary and have been approved for membership in this club because we believe each of you to be a worthy representative of your vocation, interested in the ideals of Rotary and willing to do your share in translating these ideals into tangible realities, just as you do every day in the Boy Scouts and that you did in your former Rotary clubs. You have agreed to accept the obligations attached to your membership in this club and to obey this club's constitution and bylaws. The theme for this year's Rotary is Imagine Rotary, And as our new RI president, Jennifer Jones, has stated, imagine a world that deserves our best, where we get up each morning knowing that we can make a difference. It is our offer of hands-on service, personal growth, leadership development, and lifelong friendships that create purpose and passion. One of the greatest values Rotary offers is the ability to develop lifelong friendships while serving with other members locally and internationally, adding a richness to life that is priceless and taking steps toward making the world a better place. Through those steps, united in the ideal service, you will build houses in which you will never live. You will feed hungry people of every race, creed, and political philosophy in every part of the world. You will educate children you will never know. You will vaccinate children you will never meet. You will dig wells from which you will never drink. You will plant trees under which you will never sit, and you will restore eyesight to those who will never see you. When you become a Rotarian, not only will you be in the Rotary family, but you will have the Rotary family in you. We know that we will receive much from each of you in help and service, which will enable us to be better Rotarians. And we most heartily offer you the right hand of friend and fellowship in Rotary. On behalf of the Las Vegas Rotary Club and Rotary International, may I welcome you back into our Rotary wheel, which faces inward for friendship and fellowship, and outward in service to our community and to the world. May I ask everyone to please stand? With the presentation of the Rotary pin by your sponsor, let's see if he can do it, by which your fellow Rotarians and the community at large will recognize you as a Rotarian, we ask that you wear it proudly. And she's pinning herself. Good job, Carrie. Yes, all right. With that, it is our pleasure and honor to congratulate you both on being inducted as the newest members of the Las Vegas Rotary Club. Oh, that's right. Yep. Congratulations. I'd like to thank all the people that help make this meeting possible every week. The first person I would like to thank, who reminded me that I have not thanked him in the past, is our photographer, Jim Tucker. Our greeters today, Andrew Thurlow and Brian Riley. Marie for ticket sales. Jim Cole for our invocation. Bob Warner for our song leader, and Jim Hunt for being our sergeant at arms. Our AV team today is David Jones and Allison Wexler. Our scribe is Nancy Anderson. Bob Pizer and Barbara Castro for doing the cleanup after the meeting. I'm going to do the drawing for the pot now. Each week we have a drawing. We have a deck of cards, and we draw. Stacy, you drew 2 tickets. So one person will draw a ticket and has a chance to draw the joker from this deck, which is getting smaller by the week. I think our pot this week is over $6,000. It was $5,938 at the end of last week. So, hello. So the ticket to do the drawing is 845-6403.
Melanie.
You know what?
So we'll tear up this king of clubs. And for $50 in Lowry bucks, the ticket is 3610. I think that's a 664. Steve. Get birthday dinner. There you go. Thank you. It is my great pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Stacy Stanley, who I have the pleasure of having as a neighbor. He's recently retired as managing director of Sickland Stanley in India, a distributor of specialty lubricants and chemicals in Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan. He was vice president of Snow Engineering, a ski and mountain environmental design firm. He served 3 terms as mayor of Aspen, Colorado. He's a board member of the World Affairs Council of Las Vegas, chairman of the UNLV International Business Advisory Board, a member of the Nevada Advisory Board of U.S. Global Leadership, a member of the U.S. Department of Commerce District Export Council for Nevada. He holds a BS degree in business and an MS from the University of Colorado. And he and his wife, Sean, split their time between Las Vegas and New Delhi. So please help me welcome Stacy Stanley.
Thank you, Katie. Do you have a clicker I can use? This is it? All right. Down is forward. Very good. Let me get my props out. I see that you've changed the topic on me from doing business in India to promoting international awareness. Well, fortunately, we'll be able to cover both of those topics, I think, without too much issue here. This invitation to join you today started out as a rather innocuous lunch with who I consider my wingman, Jerry Snyder, over here at the main table, and Greg McGuire, who immediately decided he didn't want to be around to hear what I had to say and went to Fiji. I thought we were joining each other for a nice Mexican lunch, and given that Lake Mead has been going down by 170 feet, we thought that probably Jerry was going to regale us with stories of his 20 plus years as a law partner with Oscar Goodman and give us the insight on who was in some of those barrels out at Lake Mead. It quickly turned out that actually they wanted to talk about my life working in India and how that might be of interest to the Rotary here. And I hope that it is, and that's what I'll try and regale you with a bit today. But first, I want to put a shout out to Linda Bartuzzi. I think she's back over here somewhere, who is from the After Hours Rotary Club. And Linda has managed to keep us in housing for the 18 years we've now lived in Las Vegas, since my wife's game plan is to change houses every 5 years. But more importantly, Linda, as a Rotarian, hers, is when I was listening to what the mission of Rotary is, and you were talking about digging wells and the other wonderful humanitarian undertakings that you take part in. Linda's group goes to my second home, India, and digs wells in villages outside of New Delhi in the area called Rajasthan, which from a climatic point of view is very much like Las Vegas. And I just wanted to let you all know that and what a wonderful job they do and what great pleasure it gives me to explain that to anybody who will listen, because my second home is India, and I'm glad that there are people that recognize it from Rotary and are helping those people to have a better life. So the way I got here to India is, as mayor of Aspen and as a skier, I was invited by Ski Magazine along with 3 other Aspenites to go to India and undertake the first trans-Himalayan ski crossing in winter, something that had not been undertaken at that point in time. Sounded like a great adventure. I had no idea where India was except very, sporadically. So I got out a globe. I put one finger on Aspen, the other finger on New Delhi, and I said, well, if I started tunneling, I can probably get there in a few thousand years. I immediately went down to the library in Pitkin County, and I picked up the only copy of a book that had India in the title, which is the Fodar's Guide, no longer published, I don't believe. And I started doing my research on what I was going to encounter in India. The food sounded pretty interesting. That got my attention right away. But then I got to one page, which kind of stopped me cold. I'll need my glasses here for a minute. Now, we're talking 1976, so please don't cast India in a disparaging light then, but that's the way it was in those days. And the comment was, as Westerners, we suggest that you carry your own toilet paper. Well, that more or less set the tone of my trip. So I had to put together my kit. And I figured, since I don't know much about the cuisine, I know that if I put enough Tabasco on anything, given originally I'm from Texas and therefore Tex-Mex is part of my regular diet, I know that I can eat whatever they put in front of me. And if after reading the guidebook, I know that I made a mistake, I just need to bring my own paper. So this became my travel kit. Put them all together, and off I went to India on a great adventure that lasted a little over a month. We failed to make a trans-Himalayan crossing. We got to the top of what's called the Kolohoy Glacier, looking into Ladakh, which is the backside of the Himalayas, and it's a rain shadow by the Himalayas, so therefore it doesn't have any snow. We had nothing but ski equipment with us, and therefore we had to turn around and ski back the way we came. But I was hooked. I mean, that was it. I cannot tell you today how India got into my blood, but that trip did it to me. So fast forward to the next year, I'd gotten out of office as mayor and was looking around for something to do. And one of my college mates showed up in Aspen with the British chap who was the chairman of the Tiger Tops Mountain Travel Group of companies that ran trekking companies, river rafting, and jungle lodges in India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And they were in Aspen trying to hustle money. Even in those days, Aspen had a rarefied environment of people that had more money than brains. So they thought they could probably get some shekels to take back over to India and Nepal to develop more camps. In the course of that, he said, well, we really need marketing. We don't have any marketing in North America. We really don't do any marketing. It's a word of mouth kind of an organization. So they invited me to join them as the marketing director. And Christmas 1980, I moved to Kathmandu, Nepal, and spent the next 2.5 years doing marketing for this group all around the world. One of the notable points was we exhibited at the International Travel Business Meetings in Berlin, and this is 1981. Berlin was still in East Germany. We drove from Switzerland to East Berlin, or to Berlin through East Germany, and I'll tell you, when you transition from West Germany through the border into East Germany, you feared for your life in those days. It was really quite an amazing, traumatic experience. And then you arrived in Berlin. So that was one of the highlights of that period. But what I was doing in part of my marketing, I was actually being paid to take guests and high net worth clients out on elephant safaris to photograph tigers. We had guests like Goldie Hawn, Robert Redford, Prince Philip, and a great number of others. I was asked to take care of being the base camp manager for the American Alpine Club Himalchuli expedition in 1982, which was the first American expedition to actually summit Mount Himalchuli, which is a 24,900 foot peak. I did not make it to the summit. I just got to carry the food bags up to the 22,000 foot high camp for the good guys that were going to go the rest of the way up. Then Air India approached us as a group and said, we'd like to see if we can promote ski tour or bicycle tourism in India. We think this is got great potential. And since I was a bicycler, I said, perfect. Got together a few friends from America. Air India flew us over to Ladakh. As you remember, I was just talking about trying to get to Ladakh on my ski trip. Now we flew into the capital of Leh at 11,500 feet. And we embarked on a 500-kilometer bicycle journey from Leh to Manali in the state of Himachal. The high point of that trip was the high point. We went over the top of the second highest motorable pass in the world at a little over 17,000 feet on our bicycles. It was an incredible adventure, as you can imagine. The inspiration for the trip, however, came from a book I'd read many, many years ago, written by William O. Douglas, who was a Supreme Court justice, as you may recall. He wrote a book called Beyond the High Himalayas. And in 1952, he took a sabbatical, or maybe it was the summer break from the Supreme Court, and he trekked the same route that we now rode our bicycles over. In those days, it was not a road. It was a mule trek that was used by the traders that were coming from Tibet down to India. They would be bringing salt down from the hill countries of Tibet and then taking back whatever was required and needed to support the lifestyles of the people that were in Tibet. A great read, and it just was inspiration. So that was the highlight of that trip. What happened next was at a meeting of the board of directors of the Tiger Tops Mountain Travel Group, one of the investors was a fellow from San Francisco by the name of George Doubleday. He had a company called the InterAsia Consulting Group. And InterAsia had been working for several years in China, and they supported US companies that wanted to establish business relationships in China, whether they be joint ventures or trading endeavors, whatever it might be. This was, the 10 years after Nixon had done ping pong diplomacy and opened up China-US relations on a commercial basis. He saw the opportunity of moving into India with the same type of undertaking and asked if I was interested in becoming part of the group and running an office for them down in India. I figured, given my business background, maybe it's time that I kind of hang up my bicycle tires for a while, get off of my elephant, and do something that's more like the business I thought I was trained to do. So I said yes, and I moved down to New Delhi, India. Now, New Delhi is the second largest city in the world, which a lot of people don't realize. It's got roughly 25 million people. Tokyo is considered the largest city in the world. Secondly, unfortunately, Delhi is also the most polluted city in the world. We here in Las Vegas get upset when we have a dust storm and our air quality goes above 50, which is considered the high limit of safe air quality. In Delhi, sometimes we see over 1,000, and yet it's the capital of the country, and they don't get it in terms of trying to clean it up. Anyway, I moved to Delhi. We took a guest house, and I started commuting back and forth between the U.S. and India, bringing over delegations, going to trade fairs, working with the U.S. Commercial Service in Delhi and in the various consulates around the country. But we're running into a problem that to get anything done in India cannot be done in 3 months, which is a typical business visa. You need to kind of lay siege to the place and plan on being there for a while. So I had to come up with a way of staying in the country longer than the 3 months. Given that I was single, had never been married, and had come from Aspen, I said, maybe what I ought to do is think about finding a wife. Fortunately, I found a beautiful Indian woman named Chand Sakhan, who is my wife as of today. I coerced her into taking me on a trip to the Taj Mahal to show it to me. I'd had a friend come over from America who had brought my mother's engagement ring, which was in a safety deposit box in Aspen. And we sat under a tree at the Taj Mahal watching the sunset. And she explained to me there was a group of people sitting in front of us. They were obviously two families, maybe 18 or 20 of them. They had blankets spread out and they were having snacks. And the girl was on one side and the boy was on the other, and they were kind of eyeing each other. My wife was explaining to me that they were in the process of negotiating a marriage. And I thought, boy, is this fortuitous, how serendipitous. At that point, I took the ring out of my pocket and I took her hand and I slipped the ring over it. And I said, will you marry me? Well, that was the start of nearly a 30-year wonderful marriage now that also got me my green card to India. I did have ulterior motives, as you could see. So now the question was, I'm in India on a full-time basis, and we're working to develop business relationships. Quick history of India for some of you that have not been there. I'm sure many of you have been to India. Is that true? No? Pretty limited. I know you have one Rotarian here from India, Rampur, who is not here today, I don't see. But anyway, India it's 1/3 the size of the United States geographically. So roughly the size of the US east of the Mississippi. North to south, from Ladakh in the north, where I'd done the bicycling trip, down to the Kanyakumari, the very bottom of the country, is a greater distance than it is from north to south in the United States, in continental United States. But in this 1/3 of the US, they pack in about 1.3 billion people right now. Doing business in India is actually relatively easy, however, because there are just the arrows point to the major business centers. New Delhi, of course, you have to be in because everything in India in those days, and still to this day, requires some type of a government approval. So it used to be that you would have to go from ministry to ministry to ministry, and they called it the multi-window approach to getting approval. And what that meant is you just carried a packet of envelopes with you and you went from ministry to ministry and you dropped an envelope on the minister's administrative assistant's desk, and then you went to the next ministry. And if you did it right, eventually you got a letter that said you had the right to do business in India. And that was great. But fast forward, 1991, they had this great economic revival, and Dr. Manmohan Singh came up with the idea that we need to have a single window approach to doing business in India to make it easier for foreign companies to get in here and to want to make an investment in the country. So they came up with the single window approach. But the Indian bureaucracy, as they used to say, the British developed the Indian bureaucracy, but the Indians refined it to an art form. Very easy. They said, all right, now you will only have to go to one ministry and only a single window. But that window will have 20 panes in it, and you will have to go to each pane in the window. And that's the way the business was done. It's gotten much better, but it was a rigorous exercise in those days. So if we look at it, so I said Delhi, that's the reason you go to Delhi. Bombay, now called Mumbai, is the commercial banking center. So that's where all of the financial activities take place on a very large scale. That's also where those of you that have Netflix or one of the other streaming services are probably have watched an occasional Bollywood film from time to time, just for nothing else because the dancing is great. Then if you move down to Bangalore, Bangalore quickly emerged as the IT center because it has a great deal of universities. And one of the things that I found in my 46 years now in India is that South India tends to be more intellectually stimulating than North India. North India is much more commercial than the South. So the IT development started in Bangalore, and it became the back office for banks in the United States as well as for the Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. Quickly, however, Hyderabad, directly in the center of the state, became the second center of IT. So if you're in that type of business, that's where you go. Those are the verticals where you'll find access to the markets you're interested in. If you go all the way down to Chennai, which used to be called Madras, or the arrow on the side there, that is where most of the automotive business takes place. You've got all of your major manufacturing from Ford, GM, as well as all of the European and Japanese joint ventures are down in that part of the country. The question always is asked, is India really open and doing business? And the answer is very much so. You know, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, is now in his second term, 5 years. So he has been very aggressive in promoting India as a destination for business investment. And in fact, right now, India has the 7th largest GDP in the world. It is the 16th largest export country, 11th largest import country, 3rd most attractive destination for foreign direct investment, and it is yielding the highest return on foreign direct investment. Nevada actually has a relationship with India, which most of us probably don't realize. India is either the 1st or 2nd largest export market for Nevada. Anybody got a guess what it is that is a major export component? Gold. 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 Indians value gold more than anything there is. And therefore, and with over 1 billion people, there's a big market for gold. One year it'll be Switzerland, the next year it'll be India. It's back and forth depending on how their economies are going. But that is an interesting fact that very few people are aware of, even those of us that live here. So the point is yeah, India is very much on the economic track of being a major power. The Prime Minister is focused on that. They are pushing very hard to portray India as a reasonable and effective opportunity for companies that are trying to move out of China because of the continuing escalation of conflict between the US and the Chinese. So therefore, they're making it very attractive, and that makes it a good opportunity. All of the cities that I've identified here have US consulates in them, so we have a large commercial service all over the country, and even though it's large, it's got good access to it. Department of Commerce runs many trade missions there on an annual basis. Most of them are focused on an industry, but I'll get to that in a moment. And I don't want to bore you with business because that's not, some of you may not care about India from a business point of view, but that's what Greg told me I was supposed to talk about, not international relations. So just as an example, under this new self-reliance that Modi has initiated, they have determined that because of the conflicts on the border with China and with having Pakistan as a neighbor to the West, which is, though not a terrible big threat to them, given they're a much more powerful and larger country, that they want self-reliance in the military. They have now identified over 100 military items that they would like to have indigenously made in India. And now, obviously, things like tanks are not going to be appealing to companies here in Nevada. But there are a lot of areas in electronics, medical technology, all of these things that, and communications that relate to the military, and they have now made that a priority, and they will allow foreign companies, i.e. American companies, to take even a majority ownership of those projects on a joint venture basis in the country, just as a simple example. So if you decide you're going to go to India, probably this formula works anywhere in the world. This is not a unique formula, but you need 3 things to get the job done. You need to have the right product, obviously. You need to have the right partner so that you can get through these window panes that are still in front of you. And you have to have the right timing. When we started, one of our very first projects was ATM machines. Bank of America was completely renovating their ATM machine system, and they had thousands of ATMs that were taken out of service and were on the market at a throwaway prices. We said, what a great opportunity. We'll load up a container with ATM machines, go to India, and we'll introduce ATM machines to India. Bank of America was in India. We said, great, they've got the software, they know how to do it. We'll just go over there and give it to them. They just have to change the plug to 3 points instead of 2 points, and they've got ATM machines. Wrong. India did not yet have credit cards or debit cards. There was no way to get the money out of the ATM machine. Right product, right partner, wrong timing. There we are. Another example, Shell Chemical, which is one of the makers of the product called PEX, which any of you in the construction trades or in the hotel industry probably are very familiar with PEX. It's the plumbing medium that is used almost universally now to do plumbing in commercial as well as in single-family, multifamily housing. Well, Shell was one of the major suppliers back in the 80s and early 90s. And there was a company in McPherson, Kansas that was interested in expanding overseas. We took them to India. We found the largest HDPE, that's the irrigation pipe, the low-grade pipe, extruder in the country. They had 50 extruders. They had a marketing network that went across the entire country, and they were excited to have a new product. So they learned the technology. It was not too difficult for them. We imported extruders to India, set up the HDP or PEX plant in a place called Jalgaon outside of Bombay, and started extruding pipe. They gave it to their marketing people. We trained them on how to do the marketing and introduce it to it, and out they went to the marketplace. They went and they would meet with plumbing contractors and with housing developers, and they would show them how it worked. And it was very simple. You say, all right, you've got two identical units here. You go ahead, Mr. Contractor, and you plumb this with galvanized iron the way you always have. Where your guy has to cut the pipe with a hacksaw, then he has to thread it with a hand threader, and then he's got to chink the wall for the soft brick, lay it in there, screw it together, wrap what's called oakum around it to keep it from leaking, and you've got the plumbing done. We'll do the same plumbing, same number of fixtures, same number of building size, and we'll do it with PEX, and then we'll show how much faster our system is. 1.5 days to do the typical kind of building they were doing with galvanized iron. 3 hours with PEX. We did 4 units in a day. They did a day and a half to do 1 unit. We kept very, very tight numbers for them. We showed them the actual cost of everything, including labor. At the end of the day, we sat down and said, see, our product saves you 30 to 50%. Are you ready to start using it? Plumbing contractor sits down and he says, no, I am sorry. Your product is very good, but it is too expensive. And we said, too expensive? We've just showed you it's 30% cheaper at least. He said, no, that is not true. I buy galvanized pipe. 1 meter of galvanized pipe costs me 25 rupees. 1 meter of your PEX cost me 50 rupees. You are twice as expensive. That is too expensive. We said, but what about the total cost? He said, I don't care about total cost. It is the pipe I have to buy. Product failed. Reason was not because the timing was wrong, not because the product was wrong, but the partner was wrong. Jane Irrigation marketing people knew how to sell irrigation pipe to farmers. They had no idea how to communicate with a contractor or a civil engineer doing commercial construction. So those are just some quick examples of failures. A success, as Katie pointed out a few minutes ago, I've recently retired as the joint managing director of Secon Stanley, which is actually a family business with my son, that we export the aftermarket cleanup petrochemicals for dealing with things like corrosion in the cooling radiator system, carbon buildup in the cylinder heads and in the spark plugs and in the ignition system. And India had developed 14 manufacturers of automobiles. They were ready for aftermarket products because up to that time, an Indian engine would run forever. And if you ran out of gasoline, you just put water in it and added a little gasoline and it'd still run for a while. So we went over there with this product, introduced it because my stepson's family had been in the automotive business since 1935. His grandfather used to import DeSoto cars to India in the 30s. He knew his way around the market. He got it approved by Suzuki, which is the largest manufacturer of cars in India with 50% market share. Got it approved by Tata, who are the people that make your Range Rovers and your Jaguars, for those of you that have them out here in the parking lot. That's owned by an Indian company. So we've had a great run for over 18 years now because we had the right product, the right timing, and most importantly, the right partner that knew how to get into the market. So that's the long and the short of my career of 46 years in India and doing business. But, you know, I'm the only one that got a free lunch today. Rest of you had to pay. And the payoff is you got to listen to me give you a pitch on a couple of projects or endeavors that I'm involved here in Las Vegas that Katie alluded to. And the first is the World Affairs Council. The World Affairs Council We've been around since 2005 here. What we do is we bring in speakers on a monthly basis to address an issue of international interest and significance. So it's really kind of an educational, but a communications opportunity for people to get a better understanding. If we have a visiting ambassador, we'll invite them. If we have an author that has written a book that's of some value in foreign relations or whatever it might be, we'll invite them as a speaker. Our last speaker, just last week, was a woman named Nancy Donovan. None of us have ever heard of Nancy. However, how many of us saw Bridge of Spies? Tom Hanks. Nobody saw Bridge of Spies with Tom? Okay, a few hands go up. All right. Tom Hanks played her father, Jim Donovan. Jim Donovan was the American who negotiated with the Soviets to get Francis Powers, Gary Francis Powers, the U-2 pilot that shot down over Russia, to get him traded to the US for a Russian spy. And they traded them on a bridge in Berlin, which was the name of the movie, Bridge of Spies. Donovan's first job, however, was even more significant. He was the lawyer at the Nuremberg trials in 1945 that was responsible for sending 6,000 Nazis to prison. And what he did, he went through the archives of all of the Nazi propaganda films, and he cut and pasted and edited them into a strong, dynamic statement showing exactly what the motives of the Third Reich was. And that was used effectively in the Nuremberg trials. So she was our speaker last week, and people were just on the edge of their seat. Even my wingman over here, who is a lawyer, thought that it was a pretty effective presentation. So that's what we do as the World Affairs Council. But the other thing we do, and this does get into the actual topic of international awareness, we are the U.S. State Department's host entity when they bring international visitors to America to study best practices of some activity that is a good value to these other countries. So the way it works is the State Department comes up with topics. They'll come up with water, with environment, with tourism, with human trafficking, with banking, with university professor selection, a whole range, perhaps 50 different topics. They will then send out these statements and say, if you would like to give us a proposal to host a group coming in internationally and teach them or show them best practices in these fields, please submit a proposal. If we like your proposal, we fund them and they fly to Las Vegas, and we spend 3 or 4 days taking them around. We arrange all of their meetings for them. The meetings can be, say, if we're talking with water, we're obviously going to go to SNWA. We're going to go to the Springs Preserve. We're going to do DRI. We're going to talk to water attorneys. We're going to talk to home builders that are using best practices in irrigation and in installation of water systems in houses, whatever it might be. So this is an area where I think Rotary could have a great impact, all of you. We're always looking for new resources. If any of you are in, doesn't matter what industry you're in, your industry probably would have value to a foreign entity coming over here. And what they do is they then pick the groups. They can be from one region of the world, say South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia. They may be multi-regional, and some of them are actually international, that they will cut across 3 or 4 different continents or countries. We bring them here if they need support. Translators come with them. Otherwise, they have an escort always. We meet them at the airport. We arrange all of their activities here in Las Vegas, including hospitality. And then we put them through the presentations that we've arranged for them. And it's a great experience. We always get the very highest remarks from them when they fill out their forms before they go back home, because Las Vegas delivers. I mean, it goes right to the fact that not only are we the world's best tourism and entertainment center, but because we have that ethic, whatever we do well. And we have never had a failure from one of these groups taking them to the various meetings that we've been able to do here. So there's something I would encourage you all to think about for a minute as we talk. And I've left my business cards up here, so anybody that wants to either become part of the World Affairs Council or get on our mailing list, or feels that you would like to put yourself in on our list of resources for the IVLP program, please take my card and send me an email and we'll make sure that we be in contact. So almost done. DEC, as Katie pointed out, DEC is the District Export Councils. This is a U.S. State Department program. There are 50 DECs around the United States, literally one for each state. Here in Nevada, we are a combined DEC with Reno, so our membership is both Reno and Las Vegas. These tend to be small to medium-sized companies that are either already in international business or want to be in international business. We meet on a quarterly basis. We bring in resource speakers. We always have SBA, XM Bank, Department of Commerce. So we have the government resources always available, and then we try and bring in other resources that will enhance or explain an opportunity, or they may be country specific. We were talking before about trade missions. If there's a trade mission coming up, Department of Commerce will send a person if we think we have people interested in it, and they'll walk them through the process of going on a trade mission. Right now, we get 35 members for our state. Right now, we have 24 members. So we've got space for 11 more members to the District Export Council. I've got a flyer up here for all of you that would like it. Our next meeting is September 1st. It's at the State Administration Building, which is on 30, I've got that on 3300 Sahara, which is kind of Sahara and Arville. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no cost, nothing involved. All you have to do is show up. And anybody that feels that they're ready to move into the international marketplace or they want to get more insights into the marketplace, please grab one of these and be in contact with us. And I would love to welcome you to both the DEC and to the World Affairs Council. So that's my pitch. I hope everybody got through their dessert and the coffee is still hot. But in closing, I wanted to read one comment from one of the great authors of Nevada, which I'm sure we all recognize, and that's Mark Twain. Mark Twain traveled through India in the 1890s. And his comment after going through India was, "So far as I'm able to judge, nothing has been left undone, either by man or by nature, to make India the most extraordinary country that the sun visits on his rounds. Nothing seems to have been forgotten, nothing overlooked." Mark Twain. And thank you for sparing your afternoon with me. I appreciate it.
Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today. I have a small token of our appreciation. It's a Soul Power Award. We give a pair of shoes to a needy child in your name. So thank you so much.
I get to designate the size?
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you all.
Oh, we need a picture.
Who's doing the talking, you or me?
No, turn that the other way.
Oh, turn this the other way.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you?
Here, you can talk.
I'm not talking. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Meeting adjourned. There is a meeting of the Centennial Committee right after this meeting. And we will see you next week. Thank you.